Okay, I'm going to dive right into another method that addicts and active addiction and narcissists use to diffuse the situation, and that is humor. Okay, they do what they want to do, they act like they had no idea, and then they use humor. So I'm going to break one down for you. Okay, so one of the things that I insisted on when Eric and I started to date was I told him that, I needed to see on paper and with proof and documents what all his assets were. And again, of course, I had my paperwork ready and furnished to go. And so I was like, I need to know what we're dealing with here. And so he's like, I got an RV, and I've got an annuity, and I've got, I've got an apartment in New York City, and what else did he say? He said, I've got all this money in my Rosedale bank, and so he's trying to hook and bait verbally, right? And he's thinking that he's above the law, that he doesn't have to furnish any documents. And I was like, oh no. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I said, by this Friday, so I gave him a week, I'm like, I need to see documents for all your assets, period. If you want to get married and you want to have a life together, I need to know your full credit report. I need your medical report. I need your financial report. I need to know what your assets are. I need to know all of this, and I need it by Friday. Now, he was not used to somebody asking him to be accountable. Eric's experience was with other whores and druggies, okay? So their idea was they just went along with whatever he was doing, and if they did have any kind of substantial whatever, they didn't have the balls to counteract or ask him for anything, okay? They just let him lead the deception of everything. So, next thing I know, Friday comes around and he has documents. Now, who did the documents? Who created the documents? How he got that to appear the way that he did? But let me make it very clear to you, my friends. He furnished documents to me, which indicated that he had his shit together on paper financially, okay? And whether he used somebody else's fake shit and doctored up something, I don't know what the hell he did, okay? But the bottom line is he furnished financial documents. He furnished photos of an RV that he owned that looked amazing and in like pristine condition. He furnished, conversations and proof talking to guys that said, oh yeah, he has, this loft apartment in New York City, blah, blah. He had the whole thing masterminded, okay? To show that he had his shit together, okay? Now, that made me believe that paperwork made me believe that he was not lying. It appeared as though he had those things. Now, what would have been helpful is if I would have followed everything up. But in my mind, I'm going, well, why? How am I even going to be able to do that? Even if I have an account number, I'm a female. I have a female voice. How am I going to call up a bank and verify this information? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm going, no, he furnished the documents. That should be sufficient, right? So he leads me in with the hook that he has these assets and financial backing, and that he has his, quote, financial profile together, okay? Then what he does is he says that he has all this equipment, and that all the equipment and all of his music equipment is being held hostage by his daughter, okay? So now the story is how evil his daughter is, okay? And so he's manipulating me into this entire paradigm of how awful his daughter is, and that his daughter is, hoarding what are his belongings, okay? And then he's showing me documentation of how she's screwing him over, okay? So he's creating a story of how he's the victim and that he's the one that people are taking advantage of, and that his daughter is the real asshole, and that he needs my help to navigate this problem because, his sponsor's too busy and he's going to be out of town or whatever, and he needs my help, okay? So once he gets me involved in this, again, triangulation that was already a disaster to begin with, the point is, I'm not an addict, okay? So I don't think, oh boy, addicts have storage lockers, and in storage lockers, that's where they store their drugs. That's just not how my brain thinks. Doesn't think that way, so that's not part of my thinking process or my reality. But that's what addicts do, okay? So he's telling me how he has to get into the storage locker because all of his expensive guitars are in there, and that he needs these guitars in order to run his business, and that his daughter is being an asshole gatekeeper to these things. So the bottom line is, this is the story that he sold me, okay? And he sold it to me with paper documentation and with the storage locker people verifying to him and to me over the phone how the daughter was not cooperating. So I really want you to understand what techniques and insane mastermind has got to occur for someone to really think up this stuff and to be able to manipulate the situation to this level. What money he threw at the people at the storage locker, I don't know. Whether they were in on something, I don't know, okay? But here's the bottom line. He's now got me thinking that the daughter's the problem, and he's now painting all these additional examples of how the daughter is a reckless drug addict herself, and that he's basically, he had to kick her out of the house because she was bringing over a posse of her girlfriends that were trying to hook up with him. And this is the kind of shit he's telling me, and he's going on about how she's an inappropriate, immature person, and that he doesn't want to have anything to do with her. And I, again, bring all this to his sponsor, and I say, look, I'm like, I don't know what part of this is true. I don't know what part of this is not true. This is the story he's selling me. So I'm asking you to investigate this and get to the bottom of it. And I said, because here's the bottom line. And this is me saying this to the sponsor. I said, here's the deal. Currently in this moment, I'm engaged to Eric. We've set a wedding date. We are making plans to have a wedding. Now here's the bottom line. I'm going to give you my no-brainer rules, okay? Here they are. I'm not marrying a smoker. My dad's a smoker. I've been around smoking my whole life. I told Eric from the beginning, I'm not marrying a smoker. So, whatever you have to do to get into a program with him to titrate out his smoking and cigarettes, understand, I'm not marrying him if he's still a smoker. Number 2, if he is still in any active drug addiction of any kind, I'm not marrying him, okay? If any of the things that he's telling me don't line up and they're lies, and, I find him in a lie, I'm not marrying him. I need a guy that has a backbone, that has integrity, that is going to be my real, true partner, okay? Now, then I said, he has an issue with his daughter. I don't know the whole story of this. I only hear what he told me about this. And I said, so here's the scenario. I play out the whole scenario with all the details that Eric had described to me in his story. And I say all this to the sponsor. And I said, now, here's the bottom line. I'm telling you, I've never been married. I don't have any children from a prior relationship. I don't have any baby drama bullshit. And I don't have any issues because my shit is clean. I said, now, as for Eric, I told him that I'm not dealing with any of this drama going into a new relationship, and that whatever things he needs to mend between him and his daughter, that he needs to do it before we get married. And if he can't do it and it's not resolved before we get, before the deadline of the marriage date, I said, I'm not marrying him, because I am not going into a relationship with all this drama bullshit from him and his daughter that has nothing to do with me, because I was not part of any of that. Okay. And meanwhile, his daughter is bad mouthing me. She's, just a nasty person. Okay. And I don't know what triangulation Eric was telling her about me, because let's be realistic. When Eric, did anything that violated the rules and agreements that we had made up with one another, I clearly was like, there's the door. Take a 3-day vacation, because, I'm not dealing with your shit right now. So I would be like, get out. Figure your shit out. Get your shit cleaned up, because you're not gonna shit in my sanctuary. Okay? You're not going to mess up all the things I have in place to have a functional household and a functional life under God. You're not going to mess that up. You have got to get your shit together. And if you